This is allegedly Dave. If you're listening to me, then you are the resistance. Hello, this is allegedly Dave. You're listening to Voice of the Resistance on Awake Radio. So tonight I'd like to actually talk about aging. But before I do, I'd like to actually just take it a bit of an aside and talk about actually what happened today here in beautiful Turkey. I went on a coach trip. Up into the mountains to essentially a ski resort. But it wasn't so much the resort that I want to talk about. It was the coach trip itself. It was a group of Turkish people. There were only two non-Turkish people, and I was one of them. And it was the whole day basically, and how they seem to approach life, and how it's different to how we in the UK approach life. One of the things I didn't mention that I really should have mentioned last time I was on last Sunday is one important thing over here, though it's changed, is that the retirement age over here was 45, I believe, and as a consequence, there are a lot of people in their 40s who've stopped work, and they are having I've got to say, a very nice lifestyle now. Although this has changed now that Turkey's trying to get into the EU against the wishes of the people. Isn't that a familiar story? Because the Turkish leadership want them into the EU. One of the stipulations is that everybody has to work until they die, basically. So the retirement age has been hiked up to 65, and there's not even been a squeak from the Turks. So, but that's an aside. The point I'm trying to make today about this trip is that I've been on coach trips before in England, and the only atmosphere you tend to get on them, and I may be wrong. I might have just had the wrong type of coach trips, but the only atmosphere you tend to get is when it's beer fueled, and then you get lots of drunken laughter and lots of singing, and noise and stuff. But generally, when there's no alcohol involved, it's usually a quiet and quite a boring affair, and you might hear a few voices here and there talking for a little while. But generally, it's not a very lively experience. This coach trip for me was very different. There was singing and dancing on all the way there, and people, there were songs being sung, and everybody knew the words. The age group seemed to be from 20s up until 60s. Probably may have even been sort of further than 60s. Maybe there was one or two in their 70s, but they were all spry and lively and and excited to be there. There were so there was lots of singing and dancing, actually dancing on the back of the coach, and lots of laughter. I haven't been on a coach, as I said, with a whole bunch of people when there's been so much laughter and so much of a lively atmosphere. Again, maybe I've been on the wrong coach trips, but the coach trips I've been on have been full of grey people, and I don't mean grey hair. I mean sort of tired looking, and tired attitudes, and nobody wants to talk to anybody else. Maybe they'll talk to the person sitting next to them, and that's it. And apart from when it's been, as I said, beer fueled. Now, when we got there, it seemed like people just. It was like everyone wanted to be with everyone else. I think most people didn't know each other, but everyone wanted to just be with people in a beautiful place. That's what it seemed to be. When it came to lunchtime, they broke out a barbecue, and again there was more singing, more dancing. There was somebody playing some strange instrument I've never seen before, but there was more singing. I joined in with some of the dancing as well. And as an aside, it was actually the first time I'd ever been on a mountain, and as I said before, I thought I've seen mountains, but I realised that the only mountains I've actually seen have been on television. It's funny that sometimes you think you've got experience, but that experience has been fake, and just faded into your memory as I've seen a mountain, but you don't realise it was actually on television until you actually find you're standing on one. It was a very good day out, and despite the fact that I couldn't speak any of the language, I managed to say a few words that they seemed very, very happy about, that I attempted to speak them. But apart from the fact that I couldn't speak to them, it was like it was a real community spirit, that the like of which we have not seen in this country for a long time. I don't think many people in our country have actually realised how much we've lost. I really wish that people from England would go somewhere like this, and not go on a package tour where you don't actually see anything of any real life. You just see the same tired tourist business that you will see everywhere else in the world. But if you spend time with actual local people, you'll see that we really have lost something. We have lost our joy for life. We've lost the simple pleasures. Whenever we go and do something, when we go on some kind of trip, it seems we have to be doing something. We have to be doing something that we can report back to people and say, yes, look, we did this, we did that. It's not, if we went on a trip and we just, stood there and enjoyed the scenery and had a little barbecue, it wouldn't resonate so much with us. We've lost this, the appreciation of simple pleasures. But yeah, today was a real eye opener, and I do wish that we could get more people to see this and realise what we've lost. But anyway, that's not the main topic of tonight's show. What I want to talk about really is aging, and why we do it, and why it's not real, why we shouldn't have to age. Essentially, I've spent the last few months now. It was only going to be a couple of weeks. It should have been a couple of weeks working on a talk. I've mentioned this before, telepathy and the complete human. And the great thing about doing a talk or trying to write one is that you do have to dig really deep into a subject, and what you end up finding usually astounds you. It usually astounds me anyway. So this talk that should have only taken me a couple of weeks to put together has taken me months, because the more I delve into it, the more things I find. And I've said this before. It's like if anyone's ever seen the film The Game, with it's one of the Douglas boys, Michael Douglas, I think it is. Now in it, he's playing a game, or has been sort of put into this game, and during the course of his day, he gets kind of things. He gets items that will that don't make any sense to him at the time, but when he gets them, later on in the game, they become something he needs to use at that time. And I found that on my journey of discovery of a lot of these things, I've been given window winders. Oh, sorry, yeah, I missed a reference there. In the game, he gets a kind of winding handle, and he finds himself later on in the film in the back of a taxi that's just been driven off a pier, and the taxi's going down. He can't get out. The windows of the window winder's been taken off. And he thinks he's going to drown, but then he realises he's got the window winder in his pocket, and that saves the day. And I find that I'm finding window winders all the time, and this talk that I've been putting together is no exception. I've been finding lots of things, lots of pieces of information that made no sense at the time, but have come together for this talk. So the myth. I'll step back a second. It's going to be in two parts, this, because part of it is the physical, part of it's the actual mental attitude that contributes to this, and the other part is the physical part, and it's going to be a bit wild, I've got to say, because as I said, I'm just coming into some of this information, and it's quite staggering in its implications. So the myth that we're struggling under is that we're born with a fixed set of genetics that basically determine our physical characteristics, and basically our our susceptibility for certain things, and every aspect of our being is apparently fixed at birth by our genetic code. That's one of the myths. Another is that we're susceptible to all sorts of debilitating diseases and injuries. That's a very powerful myth. A third is that pharmaceutical drugs and technology is our only recourse in this. Another is that we will grow old and our bodies will wear out, and we have something in the region of 70 to 100 years in which to do it, basically. One that I didn't note down as well is that I didn't note it down and it's gone straight out of my head. You'll have to kind of forgive me because, as I said, we've just come back from this trip. Literally, I was supposed to be back a few hours ago, but we actually ended up hitting a car. The coach had an accident, so I've only just got back in. But one of the other myths is, and it's gone. It will come back to me anyway. So let's start destroying some of these myths. There's an aphorism that people use quite a lot. If you don't use it, you lose it. We know that. I mean, if you've ever had a broken leg and your leg's been put in plaster, your leg will atrophy in a matter of weeks. You take the plaster off after 5 weeks, and your leg is like it's almost like skeletal. But one of the things that people miss is that the reverse is also true. I was at a meeting, actually the British Constitution Group meeting a little while back, and I met a woman who was telling me that she had cut the tip of her finger off, in the garden with some garden shears, literally, the top portion of her finger, and instead of going to the doctors or the hospital. She sliced the whole thing off. Instead of going off, she actually covered it with wee and then bandaged it up with a wee-soaked, dressing. She was actually, forced as such to go to hospital where they wanted to give her, a tetanus jab and all these other things, and she refused them. She said, "No, I'll deal with this myself." And what she found, just with dressing it with urine-soaked dressing, what she found is her finger grew back. Whether by stepping away from the poisons that the medical profession will give you, which will not, they will say it's not going to cure you, it's not going to grow your finger back, it's just going to make you feel better, and maybe I don't know what else they want to claim it will do, but it will not grow your finger back. But the truth is, it will interfere with the process of regrowing your finger or whatever. And one of the things I uncovered was that there's anecdotal evidence that newborns have been able to regrow whole limbs because I guess they don't know that they can't do it. So this kind of goes to the fact, a supposition I have, that we are shapeshifters in essence. We don't sort of consider ourselves as such because the media shows us an idea of what a shapeshifter is in films and stuff. That like in the X-Men, somebody can just change from one thing to another. No, we can't do that. But we are shapeshifters. In reality, and we can see it. We see it every day. I mean, when we see somebody, we'll say, "Oh, you put on weight, or you look different." We shapeshift, we change, and I'm kind of going off topic here, but the point I'm trying to make is that our bodies react, and they change dramatically to according to various factors. And the one I've just mentioned is the fact of use. The body realizes whether you use something. If you don't use something, you don't need it, so it will start to atrophy it, start to put it aside because it realizes you're not using it. And the reverse is true. When you need something and it's not there, the body, this dynamic system that you have, will rebuild it or create it for you. There's also a thing that most people know called the placebo effect. That it's the mere thought, the belief that something will change your body, will affect your body, will affect your health, that is enough to actually cause healing, to occur. The mere thought, the mere belief that that's the case. Again, most people don't realise that the reverse is also true. There's something called the nocebo effect. Now, that obviously is if you believe something is going to kill you or something's going to harm you, that will have an effect on how your body reacts. And it's very interesting that the number of smoking-related deaths rose after those stark warnings appeared on cigarette packets. That is the nocebo effect in operation. The mere belief, because of reading it and the hype in the papers and television and stuff. If you believe what you're reading there, it will have an effect on your physiology. There are always cases of doctors who will say, or patients who smoke, like a trooper, 2 packs a day for 40 years, and they never get cancer or never get anything, because they say, no, I'm perfectly fine. This isn't hurting me. I've been smoking like this for years, and I'm fine, because of this belief that it will not harm them. Obviously, there are, and I'll go into why that is and why sometimes it doesn't work a little later on. But this is a real effect. The upshot of this is that our bodies are actually amazing self-repairing machines, capable of fixing anything. It doesn't need anything external to heal it. Our bodies are self-repairing. Another thing that most people don't realise is all disease actually comes from within and not from without. We all have essentially pre-cancerous cells. We all have viruses and bacteria running around our bodies, waiting for an opportunity to overcome the immune system as such. Disease doesn't come from externally; it comes from within. Apart from when humans interfere with these nasty things called vaccines, where they just inject all sorts of nasty things right past our natural defences and straight into our bloodstream. Yeah, now enough said about that. Another thing a lot of people don't see in let's say the correct way is that symptoms are actually a sign that the body is dealing with a problem. They're not something to be afraid of. They're not something to try and get rid of. They're a sign that the body is dealing with something, and it's like a warning sign. And obviously I've mentioned this before. The medical establishment that only treats symptoms. Basically, it's like taking a car into a garage with the engine warning light coming on, and basically the mechanic taking the bulb out. The symptom has been treated, so there's no sign of no warning sign anymore. But the problem still exists, and it will come back with a vengeance. So what we have to learn to do is trust that the body knows what to do and let it get on with it. It's almost too simple a concept to grasp. Now we're told that essentially we go through 7 stages of man. We're a baby crawling. We become a small child, and then a teenager, and then we hit our 20s and 30s. Then we go into our middle age, and and then we start degrading, into sort of, infirmity, into old age and infirmity. Now, if that's true, if this is is something that's fixed in our development, and cannot be changed, how come then we have certain baffling medical conditions? And I found one where a woman called Brooke Greenberg, who at the time was, it's actually this year, she was 20 years old, but her body is that of a toddler. She never grew. Her body never grew older than a toddler. And I'm looking at a picture of her, and sure enough, this is she's a toddler's body, but she's actually 20 years old. So, if there is a possibility that you can have something go wrong with your wiring and your body does not grow old, then that capability is within us all. It stands to reason. But the point is, we grow old because we expect to grow old. Every cell in our body is renewed every 7 years. So that obviously means that every our bodies are not the same ones we had 7 years ago. We're not a thing as such. We're a process. We're a continually changing process, and every passing moment, we decide who and what we are. Now, in my talk at this point, I have a video that a young woman made. She basically took a photograph every single day for a period of 6 years, and she run it through some software that basically fixed the eyes in place on each photograph. So you can as this sequence goes, I think it's only for a couple of minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but as the sequence goes, you can see how her hair changes and all that, over the course of, I think it's 6 years. Now, the interesting thing about when you watch this is that you can choose any aspect of her face, any one little aspect, and I always point people to looking at her nose. And as the sequence goes, you can see her nose changes in shape over the course of this 6 years, and almost daily you can see the length of it changes, the width, the position of the nostrils, every aspect of her nose changes, and same with every other aspect of her face. Her jawline changes. The shape of her mouth changes. Even the eyes slightly change. The shape of her eyes changes. It's not just lighting and makeup. It's physical measurements change. We change. We decide who and what we are moment by moment. And as I said, we know it intuitively. We talk to people. We see somebody. We recognise them, but we also sometimes recognise that they're not exactly what they looked like the last time we saw them. But we just put it aside. It's like if we had a car, and you get a brand new car, and let's say within the first week you put a little dent in the in the driver's door, but over the course of 7 years, you change every nut, bolt, and panel on that car. Okay, just like all the cells in our body have changed. So essentially, you've got a brand new car. Is it the same car? No, it's not, because every single element of that car has changed. But in order to make it so that it is your car, you might recreate that dent in the driver's door. Every time you change the panel, you might just recreate that little dent to show everyone and show yourself, this is my car, even though it's not. This is what we do on a daily basis. As such, we carry scars and injuries because we subconsciously recreate them to prove to ourselves, essentially, to prove to our conscious selves that we have a past. You know, that it's often been said there is no past, there is no future, there is only now, and that's quite correct. There is only now, but we create a past for ourselves, and you know we subconsciously, you know, and I'll get onto this in a little while, that we have programs running in our heads, and they come from pretty much from the moment we're born. And I've mentioned this before, that our conscious awareness is a minute amount of our total awareness. If you imagine a massive photograph of, I think there was a photograph of Mars that it's come out as massive, a gigabyte or a few gigabytes of space on this massive picture of Mars. And our conscious, if you imagine that as our total awareness, you know, our conscious awareness is like one pixel of that massive map. So our subconscious is actually running these programs sort of automatically, and one of them is aging. And recreating scars and all that sort of thing. They're running in the background in the same way that let's say you're driving to work. You get in your car and you set off, and you start thinking, oh, did I leave the gas on? Oh, no, I didn't. I turned it off. But I've got to remember to post that letter when I get to work. And oh, did I leave it on the side? Oh no, I left it in my bag. Got it. And you're thinking like that all the way, and then before you know it, you're at work and you don't know how you got there. What's happened is your subconscious programming of how to drive a car to work was running in the background while your conscious mind was focusing on all sorts of other things. Now, our conscious mind is always focused on all sorts of things. It's not focused on how are we aging? Do we need to age? Do we need to have this scar? That's a subconscious program that's running. So, and I've probably forgotten where I am on this then. So yeah, these subconscious programs they're running all the time, but sometimes, without even being aware of it, you can override these subconscious programs. Now, at this point, I point people towards a group of I guess showgirls called the Palm Springs Follies. Now, if you do a Google sort of image search for the Palm Springs Follies, you'll find a picture of some very attractive ladies dancing, but the interesting thing about these women are the youngest of them is 62 years old, and the oldest is 87. Now, these women look like they're in their 30s, or they're in their 30s, maybe 40s, but they look fit, very attractive, very vital. They basically dance like 8 dance routines. Vigorous dance routines, probably 8 performances a week. So it's pretty strenuous, and they're not your typical old age pensioner. Now, what that is, how that works, is that they don't consider themselves as old ladies. They consider themselves as dancers. So what they've done is overridden that subconscious programming that says they have to age, they have to degrade, they have to become infirm. They've consciously overridden that program. So subsequently, they're dancers. They're not old ladies. So it's essentially a choice that you make. I'll quote Alan Watts. He says, a living body is not a fixed thing, but a flowing event, like a flame or a whirlpool. The shape alone is stable, for the substance is a stream of energy going in at one end and out the other. We are particularly and temporarily identifiable wiggles in a stream that enters us in the form of light, heat, air, water, milk, bread, fruit, beer, beef stroganoff, caviar, pâté de foie gras, and it goes out as gas and excrement, and also as semen, babies, talk, politics, commerce, war, poetry, music, and philosophy. So that really puts it quite sort of succinctly, really. I mean, we're not these fixed things. We're processes, and those processes are determined by our choices, our conscious awareness. So it is essentially your choice whether you are, like one of these Palm Springs Follies at being fit and young and healthy at in your 80s, or you're you let the unconscious programs just run their course, and you degrade and become a typical old age pensioner. So why do we believe that old age and infirmity are normal things? Well, we're taught that we will grow old, almost from the cradle. Every time somebody says, "Well, what do you want to be when you grow up?" Every time somebody says, "Oh, you're going to grow up to be a big, strong," all these ideas just feed into this subconscious idea that you are going to grow old. The little girl, the woman Brooke, I think Greenberg, I think it is, who is 20 years old and still in the body of a toddler. That wiring somehow didn't sort of take hold, and her body didn't grow old, didn't grow up at all. But we, on the other hand, we take in this programming and we expect to grow old, and also, more specifically, we expect to look like a version of our parents. We look at our parents, and we might be explicitly told, "Oh, you look like your dad. You're gonna look like your dad when you grow old." Or sometimes we just assume, "Oh, that's what we're going to look like." In my family, I was close to my mum, and my brother, he idolised my dad. My dad's sort of much older than my mum, and consequently, my brother looks like my dad, and I look like my mum, and my brother looks a lot older than I do. It's as simple as that. And as I said before, we're taught to carry around scars and injuries. We're taught that these scars will be with us. And injuries will probably plague us for the rest of our lives. Unless we get medical intervention and stuff. And we're taught our bodies will eventually wear out and that we can't regenerate limbs. We're taught all sorts of things that are programs. They're just programs that we end up following. So essentially, our shape-shifting abilities, and those abilities I was telling you about, the ones we take for granted, like the If you lose it, if you don't use it, you lose it, and the reverse. Those abilities are channeled into this idea of aging. So we're running many unconscious programs. Now we're going to head into a bit of a strange area now, and it might be hard to believe. I'm finding it. I'm not finding it hard to believe, actually. I've had a sort of, I guess, intuitive feel about some of this, but and I believe we've got in the chat box Mr. Norton Webber in there. I hope that's you. Let us know if that is you, Andrew. I'd appreciate it, because Andrew basically, again, I don't know if he realised it, put me onto a certain book called Man's Higher Consciousness, and from that book, that was another window winder, actually. It sat there for a while, and I didn't look at it until it just kept popping up in front of me, and as I looked into it, it turned out to be exactly what I needed to see right then and there. So I've been looking at that book and a few other books, old books actually, because the old ones I don't think were as strenuously filtered as our new books. But anyway, so we're running a lot of unconscious programs. And one of them is that we must eat cooked food 3 times a day to survive. I've already mentioned the one that we will grow into looking like versions of our mum and dad, and also that we will deteriorate, we will wither and become weak and sick, and our bodies will stop repairing it themselves. And that we'll die, usually between 80 and maybe even 110 years, But just some of the unconscious programs we're running. But all around, we see evidence to the contrary. Now, there have been quite a bit of a stir on the internet, especially with when some of these stories have come to light. There's a woman called Mimi Kirk, who's 74 years old, and she looks absolutely fabulous. There's another one called Shea Vaughan, who's 72 years old. Again, looks absolutely fabulous. No cosmetic surgery. Sorry, there's another one as well called Annette Larkin, who's 72, and none of these women have had sort of surgery. What their secret is a raw food diet. Just raw food, no cooked food. It when you sort of think about it logically, there aren't any other animals that cook their food. Why do we do it? It can't be that we're just we're more sophisticated, so yes, of course we cook our food. But no, why wouldn't why do we do that? And I think it's Andrew who said that when you cook the food, you're releasing its energy, like it's like burning some petrol. Burning the petrol before you put it into your petrol tank. So all the energy's gone, but you're just putting in the residue, and it's not doing us any favours. So this myth that we have to eat cooked food seems to be there to promote aging, to promote ill health. These women are testament to that idea. Now, the thing that's coming to my mind now is that this idea of longevity is not limited to a mere 100 years or so. When you look at the Bible, and most people know that I'm not a religious person at all, but there has to be some grains of truth in that book somewhere, and the fact that pre-flood, most of the characters in there all have incredibly long lifespans. Methuselah was 969 years old when he died, and Noah was 950 years old. Adam was 930 years old. Seth was 912 years old. Enoch, of the Book of Enoch fame, I guess, lived for 365 years. Job was 210 years. Isaac died at 180 years old. It seems like the closer we come to the present, the shorter people's lifespans have got. Now, that might seem that that might seem a bit sort of a wild stab in the dark that's not what I was trying to say. A wild conclusion to come to, but I found, and I couldn't find the my notes in time for this show, but I found some statistics that show that I believe it was 50 years ago or 100 years ago, there were twice as many people who reached 100 years old, was it 50 or 100 years ago, as there are now, even though the population has grown, has more than doubled. So you think about that, way back in the past, more people were living to 100 years old than they are now. But that, we're taught the opposite. We're taught that in the past people lived a lot shorter lives than we have now, and but no, that's not true. The actual actual statistics say differently. So looking around, I found cases of people like I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this right. Devraha Baba, who passed away in 1989, having lived at least 250 years old. Now, he claimed to be over 700 years old, and the very first president of India actually verified his old age. He said that he went to see this man. His father took him to see this man when he was 70, and his father was telling how he went to see this man when he was a child. So this particular guy has been around at least for 250 years. We also an Allahabad High Court barrister stated that 7 generations of his family had sat at this man's feet. So there's no doubt that he lived at least 250 years. So if he could manage that, his claims may have something to them. I also found a story of a guy called Li Qin Yuan, who was a Chinese herbalist and martial artist. He lived to the age of 256, and according to Chinese governmental records, which their records were meticulously kept. In 1827, he received congratulations, much like the Queen's birthday telegram when you reach 100 over here. But he received congratulations on his 150th birthday in 1827, and again in 1877 on his 200th birthday. So, these cases exist. There's also one. Now I'm not going to be able to pronounce this. Numa de Kugna of Bengal, who died in 1566, aged 370. Now, he apparently grew 4 sets of new teeth, and his hair turned from black to grey 4 times. Now, this isn't something that's uncommon, actually. When people get to over 110 years old, there have been many accounts that a whole new set of teeth have appeared, a person's hair turns back to its original colour. Now, why would that happen if if 110 was essentially the end of your life? Why would you get a new set of adult teeth? It's kind of thought-provoking. Oh, yeah, it's not Andrew. Ugh. Oh well, never mind. I hope you're listening anyway, Andrew. I found another book called Longevity by a guy called John Gardner, MD. He said before the flood, men are said to have lived 500 and even 900 years. As a physiologist, I can assert positively that there is no fact reached by science to contradict or render this as improbable. It is more difficult on scientific grounds to explain why man dies at all than it is to believe in the duration of a human life for 1,000 years. So he's saying that science can't actually prove that or can't actually tell you why you should die at all. That's an actual fact. It's it's quite staggering in its implications there. Of course, science won't. The scientists themselves won't actually tell you about that. But at the same time, scientists don't actually know why we're alive in the first place. Science has got nothing to say about life, which is startling, really, when you think about it. What is there more important to think about or to consider than why we're alive in the first place? But again, science has nothing to say about it. Now, one of the things I came across in this book, and I've got to tell you about this book. It's Man's Higher Consciousness by Hilton Hotima, I think the name is. I started reading it, and within the first few pages, I was absolutely gripped. Unfortunately, I've only got it on PDF, and I have trouble reading stuff on a PDF on a computer screen. So I'm going to have to figure out a way. Well, I've actually ordered the book from Amazon, I believe. So hopefully I'll be able to read it better. But within the first few pages, I was absolutely gripped by it. And one of the things it said very early on is this idea that man has actually descended. He's not progressed as such as as the way that our culture has been telling us. Our culture tells us that we started as primitives, and over the eons we've improved and progressed to this point where we are the pinnacle of human evolution as such. No, that's not true. We're faced with the reality, all the time. You just go to Egypt and look at those big pyramid-shaped things, and there's your answer. We can't do that today. There's no way we could do that in 1,000 years from today. No, we've descended, and according to this book, we've descended a lot further than we could possibly imagine. So, in this book, it basically says that we have descended from being breatharians. Now, breatharians are those who don't eat at all. They take their energy from the sun and from the air, and that's it. I believe we were breatharians to start with. We needed no food, and then we descended into liquidarianism. So basically, we started drinking water, and And the next one is quite interesting. We descended from liquidarianism into fruitarianism. Now, when I read this, when I read that, that descent, the first thing I thought of was it puts a different spin on the Adam and Eve story. If you think about it, if we started off as these perfect creatures, and that needed nothing, and had this high spiritual sort of life. But then we were tempted by fruit, by an apple, and once we ate the apple, we became creatures that ate food. And I'm going to probably jump around with this because again I hadn't had a chance to plan this very well, but when it's difficult to actually kind of explain. We think that we have to be sort of food eaters because it's fairly obvious, isn't it? We've got all the equipment here to eat food, so it's obvious that we've always eaten food. Well, one of the things that this book actually highlights is that, well, in our bodies we have all these organs that apparently have no use. Things like the appendix, or maybe our tonsils. They're kind of like so I think science tells us that they're kind of vestigial organs that no longer have any relevance to us. So if they get inflamed, they can quite happily just whip them out. But this book again proposes something slightly different. Now, and the proposal, as it were, is resonated with me when I heard it, because we are these very dynamic creatures that adapt and change according to our environment. Now, we have this intestinal tract for digesting food, and we have a stomach. But what this book basically says is that our bodies will adapt to a situation and activate certain organs to allow us to adapt to that situation. So if we weren't food eaters and we started to eat food, then a vestigial intestinal tract will now come to the fore, expand, and become of use. Just like our appendix, there's something that appendix is there for, and if we changed our habits, that meant that the appendix was something that we should use now, then the appendix will become activated and will expand in its usage, and our body will adapt to use that appendix. So what backs this idea up is that those people who have become breatharians, they've noticed that their stomach has totally shrunk away almost. They neither have bowel movements, or they don't urinate anymore. So those organs apparently shrunk and became sort of just like our appendix, not used anymore. So that kind of backs up this idea that the equipment we have is just like almost like a standby. It's for adapting to any situation that we might sort of need. Now I've kind of strayed a bit because I got to fruitarianism and I went off track. But after fruitarianism, we descended into vegetarianism, where a lot of us are at the moment, and then we descended further into carnivorism. So we became carnivores. Now, a lot of people will look at the animal kingdom and say, well, look at the animal kingdom. Obviously lions chase after gazelles and eat them and stuff. But if you subscribe to this idea of as above, so below, as below, so above, then what we're doing, has an effect on everything else. So the animal kingdom are only eating because we are, because that's what we're doing. When you start looking into the behaviour of animals, you find that they do things that are pretty much contrary to our beliefs about them. They have feelings. They essentially act human, for want of a better phrase. Actually, they act human, and there's more and more evidence of that. You just have to now that we've got things like YouTube and people capture some of these things. There's more and more evidence of it. The animals. I believe animals are people. They're just people having a different experience. I know that's going into the spiritual realms here, but yeah, I believe that they're just us having a different experience, experiencing being a dog or a dolphin, and we're not the highest intelligence on this planet. I think dolphins are right up there, and squid and octopi. They're highly intelligent. Who's to say that they're not more intelligent than we are? Again, I've gone. I keep going off track. But so I believe that if that the animals are carnivorous because that's the experience that we're having, and that experience is being echoed throughout the whole of reality, because reality is a fractal. One change in one area will change everything. As above, so below. The other thing that this book, again, when I read this book, it gripped me, because literally every paragraph had something that I had to shut the book and think about for ages, and consider the implications of it. We've been taught that our cells, our bodies, are sustained by food. We take food in. The food is broken down, and the useful elements and useful substances in it are taken away, and that is what builds our bones and builds our structure and makes us grow bigger and stuff. But if you consider a tree, if trees actually took in all its nutrients to build itself, then shouldn't trees all live in depressions in the ground? They did an experiment where they got a big container of earth. They weighed all the earth that was in it, and they planted a seed for a tree. And they let that tree, they obviously watered it and stuff, but they let that tree grow to several feet high. So there was a substantial amount of wood there. And then they carefully uprooted it and shook off all the earth, and they weighed the earth, and it was exactly the same as before. So where did all that wood come from? I seem to remember asking that question a bit when I was as a kid. Where did that all come from? How. And I think I said it about people. How do you grow just by eating food? How does that happen? Point is, it seems that it's not this idea of taking in food that creates our structure. It doesn't feed our cells. Sorry, I started laughing there because Mr. No said dolphins can't make tea. Well, tea isn't really good for us, so they probably know better than us. Anyway, so yeah, I wondered where did this mass come from? If this mass of wood come from, if it's not from from taking in minerals from the ground. Now that's the same as us, really. It seems that when you eat food, it's the food is actually just I don't know. It's just turned into the liquid part of it is taken, maybe, but the actual mass of the food is just ejected. Okay, I'm probably not explaining it very well. What I'm okay. One of the startling things that, or starting sort of realizations I had, was that our cells, which make up all of us, they don't take from the external world and then build themselves, build more cells from that. They simply divide, and we were just one cell. We were one cell, and that one cell divided and constantly divided to produce the whole of us. Now, a cell doesn't need anything external. Just like, and when you go down one level below that, when you go down to the atoms that make that cell, those atoms don't need anything external to feed them. The cells don't need anything external to feed them. When you go at the level above us, the planet that we live on doesn't need anything external to feed it. So why do we need something external to feed ourselves? Now, I know this does sound a bit strange because the idea of not eating, does sound strange. But the thing that resonates with me is because I did the 30-day urine fast. So I at least proved that liquidarianism works. But the odd thing is that after the fast, after I completed the 30 days, what happened to me was that my appetite disappeared, and I would be able to go sort of 8 days or so, without eating anything, and not realise it. It was one day that somebody asked me out to lunch, and I said, "Oh yeah, I haven't had a meal in a little while actually. Oh, it's been 8 days. Bloody hell!" So something had happened. I didn't need to eat as much as I did, and I still felt great. I didn't. I actually wasn't doing. I wasn't doing the fast at that time. I was drinking urine twice a day, but finding I wasn't needing to eat hardly at all. And the other side of that is that when I did eat, obviously I wasn't eating as much as I usually do. I would start putting weight on straight away, and that's not eating hardly as much as I would normally eat, and it was also mainly salad stuff. Salad, mushrooms, and nuts, and fruit juices and stuff. There's no explanation for why I would put on weight with just that, and also, my stomach would start to get big again. So it kind of works into what I was just saying earlier, that when you get your body into a mode that you're not eating. Not eating at all, your stomach and everything shrinks, to adapt to that. But then when you change that, then you start eating again. It starts being activated again. Now, a lot of people might say that, well, if you don't eat food, you're just going to starve. And yeah, many people do starve around the world. But there's a very interesting experiment. It seems that our bodies, again, there are these dynamic systems that adjust to our environment, the conditions we find ourselves in order for us to survive those conditions. But usually at the cost of our longevity. Now, the example is this experiment where they put a bird in a kind of bell chamber. So it's a big glass chamber with enough air in it to last that bird for 3 hours. So they put the bird in there, and what they do is they took the bird out of that bell jar after 2 hours. So it could have survived another hour in that jar. Okay. Obviously, the air quality had degraded in that jar. There was more carbon dioxide. There was more sort of your breath is an excretory sort of part of your system. It excretes all sort of toxins and stuff. So that the air would have been pretty rank. But when they put a healthy bird into that air, it died immediately. But then they could have put that original bird back in that air, and it would have survived for another hour. Now, in fact, if you had kept the air quality in that jar at the 2-hour level, if you're able to keep it at that level indefinitely, that bird would have probably lived for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, a lot less than its normal lifespan. But it would have survived for that length of time in an environment that would have killed a healthy bird that wasn't adapted for that environment. So what it's telling me, or it's telling us, is that we are in a very unhealthy environment, and that is one of the factors that is affecting our longevity. We're in a massively unhealthy environment. Everything in our environment is toxic. The water is toxic. The air, with all the chemtrails and the pollution, is toxic. Our clothes are drenched in chemicals that are toxic to us. Most of our food is toxic. Even when you get organics, or so-called organic food, you don't know if it's GMO. You don't know if it's been grown in a different country where the pesticides that are banned here are okay to use for them. You don't know these things. You don't know that it's been watered with fluoridated water. This is the thing. Every aspect of our environment is unhealthy to us. So we are kind of like that bird, the original bird. We're in this toxic environment. Our bodies have adapted to that toxicity at the cost of our longevity. That's why that's one of the reasons we're living, these short, brutal lives. And I think they are, we might think of 100 years as a long life, but it's a short, brutal life compared to what we're actually capable of. And as a consequence, we die as children. If our lifespan is even only 1,000 years, to die at 100 means we're barely out of nappies. So you can imagine what sort of people we could become if we actually lived for 10 times what we live now, even 5 times, even 3 times. So that's the situation we find ourselves. It's this toxicity that we're sort of struggling with. Our body has adapted to it, just like a drug addict. A drug addict will, when he first starts out, will have a small amount of the drug, and it will give them the high thereafter. But as their body adapts to it, they need to take more and more to get that same feeling, because the body's constantly, adjusting itself to be able to survive it. But after a certain time, the drug addict is taking so much that if somebody else who wasn't adapted to it took it, they'd die straight away. They'd die of an overdose straight away. But the drug addict can tolerate it because his body is adapted to it, and this is it. We're adapted to this toxic environment, but the cost is that we will die. We'll die young. Okay, well. So yeah, one of the things that obviously we're starting to see that is helping with this is the protocols that we're using to cleanse our bodies of this toxicity. Now we've talked about this before with distilled water. With distilled water, when you drink at least a gallon a day, this water will basically go through your body and pull out everything that is harmful to your body. It's a question of magnetic attraction as such. The water and our bodies are, I think it's negatively charged, and everything that's foreign to our body is positively charged. So this water basically just goes through and just pulls out everything that it doesn't belong in our bodies, and we are seeing some incredible effects that this is having on people. People are looking younger. People, obviously we can't say that people are living longer, because we're just starting to rediscover this. I'm just an aside, but just looking at the chat box. What is the man's name that is speaking, Dave? That would be me, Dave. I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. Anyway, yeah. So we're seeing that distilled water and urine therapy as well. Basically are cleansing technologies that will literally pull out all this stuff that our body is having to deal with, is having to expend all its energy in dealing with, in adapting to, and it's allowing will allow our bodies to essentially go back to this state that we have a longer life, a more healthy life, And essentially that's ascending, up to this level of liquidarianism, especially if you actually start doing fasts on water. Now this is a thing. This is a thing that I'm starting to understand here. That fasting is is a great benefit, to us. It's I always just put it down to the fact that if you're fasting, then your body is not using up most of its energy to process food into waste and whatever, and it can use that energy to repair your body. That's what I put it down to, but I think it must be much more than that. But there are lots of testimonials about when you fast, and I'm kind of living proof of that. When you fast, your body starts regenerating itself, and the best one I like to sort of talk about is a little silly thing, but I've mentioned this before. My ear started to hurt, and I'd wash again. I wash with urine, and it started, it hurt a little more. So one night I went to bed with my ear hurting, woke up, and it had turned into an open wound, and it was weeping and bleeding and stuff. And I couldn't work out what the hell was going on until I realised that in my 20s I had an earring in that ear, and within a week my friend had ripped it out accidentally, but it left a kind of lump, and obviously the evidence of a hole that was there. It left a little lump in my earlobe, and what the we had done had pulled out whatever was that lump, and it had repaired my ear, so there's not even a sign there was a hole there now. It's basically regenerated my ear. I know it's a silly little thing, but that doesn't happen according to the medical establishment. You're not supposed to be able to regenerate things. My lungs were regenerated on this fast. I had the lungs of a 70-year-old apparently. Last time I had a medical, they made me blow into this thing, and it measured the strength of of my breath, and they concluded I had the lungs of a 70-year-old. They were going to take me off. I was in the fire department, and they were going to take me off the breathing apparatus because they thought it might have been dangerous. But just a little way on this fast, my lung capacity came back, and I found I could run long distances without being out of breath, a lot longer than I could before. So, this idea of fasting, stopping eating, is there is something to that. It's the medical establishment tells you one thing. It seems that whatever the medical establishment tells us, you've got to look at it, and you've got to examine it, and more often than not, you find the opposite is true. So I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but again, I never planned this. I didn't plan this one, so I do tend to be jumping from one topic to another. So one of the things that again is another window winder. I read a story about now this is about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I read a story about the British Army, how the soldiers would be given 3 square meals a day, but the officers would only be given 1 meal a day. Now, I couldn't work that one out. Why would they? At the time I was thinking, well, why would they punish the officers? but it seemed that it made the sorry, Steve, I'm jumping from one topic to another. Yes, I'm sorry. It seems that it made the officers a lot fitter than the regular soldiers. It gave them better health, probably better strength and vitality, and kept the leadership strong, I guess. But it puzzled me until I started reading this, that maybe we eat too much. Maybe we're not supposed to eat at all. Again, I'm only a little way into this book, but as I said, every paragraph I came up to, it was just one startling revelation after another, and every revelation was something I had to stop and consider. So the idea is that our cells do not take in food. They do not need food to power them. They are in a sustaining liquid, and that when that liquid becomes toxic, or it becomes acidic, it impairs the function of the cells. Cells are immortal. Cells do not die. They change. It's a I guess it's a very small my vocabulary's gone now. It's a very small distinction, but cells don't die. They degrade in their function so that their capacity to receive the life force is diminished, and obviously they don't receive the life force anymore, so they become inert. But then they're not dead as such. It's a small distinction, but again, it has a amazing connotations to it. It's we think of the cells as they live a certain time and they die. Well, it seems it's the liquid in the environment that they live in. When it becomes toxic, it essentially furs up the cell, so that it's like in a battery. When you've got the plates in a lead acid battery, the plates tend to start furring up, and then they can no longer conduct electricity as well as they could, and they're not dead as such, because all it needs is to clear off the sulfation on the plates, and they'll conduct electricity again. But our cells are not dead. They don't die. They're just incapable of receiving this life force, because we are not our bodies. We are something outside of this 3D reality, being received by these bodies. And it kind of brings me to the point of why we die. I'm absolutely of the conviction that we only die, apart from when there's some horrible accident, unexpected accident. We only die because we decide to. We make the decision, we die, and we just stop. Now you can see it when people are very sick, and they give up. They say, no, I've had a long life, I've had a good run, and they die. Or a loved one dies, and they feel they can't carry on, and they just switch off. And if you think of it in context of a video game, and this is how I like to see what this reality is. It's a fully immersive video game. You know, we're not the actual avatars that are moving around. We're the player outside of the reality that the avatar lives in. Now, when I've seen this when my son was playing his video games. When he gets to the point where, say, his character is so badly damaged he can't play the game, the game he wants to play anymore, he'll just end the game and then start it again. That's essentially what we do. You know, we get to the point where we say, I don't want to play this game anymore. This particular character anymore. I'm done, and that's it. We end. And this society has been about convincing us that we should end. What do we do to our old people? We make them feel like they're useless. We retire them. They end up on with a very small amount of money, unless they've been extremely ruthless and they're one of the elite or their lackeys, and those people have their own demons, as it were. But our old people are made to feel useless. Their health degrades because of the accumulated toxicity. So they have lots of infirmities and lots of it's hard work. They can't do what they want to do. So our society is about making people believe that they should end, and that's it. And you only end when you decide you want to end. Right, I've actually got getting a bit dry here, so I think I'm going to play a couple of tracks, and I'll be back with you after these. Okay. Hello and welcome back. I've always loved that song as well, and again, another classic jump to another subject. One of the things that came out during this tour I was on, after hearing all the Turkish people singing, they asked me to sing an English song, and could I think of one? That's one of the points. We don't have any music that everybody knows. We don't have anything that 20-year-olds and 70-year-olds can sing along to, that they might that everybody knows the words to. All I could think of was a couple of football songs and maybe some old Cockney songs like "My Old Man's." What if anybody in the chat box could tell me of a song that I could have sung that maybe anybody from 20 to 70 might know the words of, please put it in the chat box. Anyway, so I was talking about fasts. My levels seem to be a bit high. Sorry about that if I'm blasting everybody's ears off. So I was talking about fasts just before the break. They seem to be the way to go. I think we eat far too much, and if it's true that we don't need to be eating at all, and I absolutely believe "Here Comes the Sun." I don't even know the words to that. And Agadoo, please, Paul. There are other stations for you to go on that kind of talk. Anyway, Bohemian Rhapsody, maybe, yeah. Anyway, it seems the way to go, because if we're not meant to eat, if we start cutting down, I mean that again from a right-brained or left-brained point of view, saving that energy that it would take to process that food, to redirect that into our regeneration. I mean, that always makes sense, and I think. Sorry, my screen just went blank. Yeah, I want to propose the secret to all this, to a longer life. So I mentioned at the beginning the idea of this descent into carnivorism that most of us are in now. So it would seem to me that the best course of action is to ascend back to ultimately breatharianism, and again, before people start complaining that breatharianism, well, you'll starve yourself to death. Again, you look at this idea of with the bird experiment. Yes, people die of starvation because their body hasn't actually adapted to it in the right way. And I think the right way would be to ascend through these various stages. As I said, I got to I guess a stage of liquidarianism where in my 30-day fast, I almost, and I have to say almost, stopped. I almost stopped. I did actually for a couple of days. Didn't have any bowel movements whatsoever. So I say a couple of days, maybe the last week or so. I didn't have any bowel movements at all. I was still urinating, but then I was still at the liquidarianism stage. So I wasn't processing food, but I was still quite comfortably living on in the course of this 30 days. Now I am absolutely convinced that I could have gone 45 days, I could have gone 60 days, I could have gone indefinitely on that fast. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Now, the next stage up from that would be then to go to breatharianism. So if you've gone from being a carnivore to a vegetarian, you might skip the fruitarianism, but that might actually also be combined with the vegetarianism stage. But from that, it's well, I guess no. Actually, the fruitarianism could be the juicing, going on to juicing fruits. But then you can go straight to liquidarianism, which could be just distilled water. So essentially, you're conditioning your body as you go along. You're allowing your body to adapt to the new environment. And therefore, it's you're not experiencing that shock like the bird that was placed directly into the bad air, and that could be why people die of starvation. It's just that shock of the body cannot adapt to quick enough. So my sort of idea on this is to actually start moving up, moving back up these levels. So when you're in the vegetarian stage, I'd basically suggest doing fasting and eating cycles. One of the thing about fasting is I saw. I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but I saw a talk by somebody, and he was talking about fasting, and that in the past, in the distant past, they used to have feasts. So like the Feast of Ramadan and things like that. And those times were the times that you would eat. And all the other times you wouldn't. So it made these feasts, special, because those were the times that you actually ate something. So yeah, I'm thinking that we ought to actually start going back while we're on our vegetarian lifestyle. We go to alternate fasting and eating cycles. And when you're eating as a vegetarian, it should be raw food and small portions of fruit, nuts, and vegetables. All water should be distilled water, or urine, or fresh fruit juices. So basically just the distilled waters. I don't know, we're still getting suggestions coming in. Green sleeves. Okay, hands up everybody who knows the words to green sleeves. Apart from the obvious, of course. Green sleeves. Anyway, is Green Sleeves an actual song with lyrics? I'm not sure about that. Anyway. The other thing, which comes out of some of the words of some of these long-lived people, some of the yogis and stuff, is actually clearing the mind. So meditation is another key aspect of this. Our minds are they're over-occupied, they're hyper-stimulated, and the media of our present culture is all about fear and pumping fear into us. So that fear obviously causes physiological effects in us. The fight or flight response, which is a constant fight or flight response. Somebody's actually put all the words of green sleeves on it on the chat box. And that proves the fact that I didn't know the words. Anyway, so meditation is will actually help clear our minds and relax us to the point where this fight or flight response, will have less of an effect on us. The last thing, I guess, to my mind, the most important thing is the positive mental attitude and reprogramming our belief systems. If you haven't caught Dr. Bruce Lipton before, please go on YouTube and find some of his talks. One of the amazing things that he actually talks about is he shows how our genetic code isn't fixed. Our genetic code can be rewritten by we have genes in us that actually rewrite all the rest of our genes. We have genetic engineering genes, and at first they were thought to be there to rewrite our genetic code according to external their external environment. But what Bruce Lipton found was that there was another stage in between that. So our senses would sense the external environment, but then our belief systems would process those senses, those signals from our senses, and put its own interpretation on them. And that interpretation of the external environment would cause our genes to be rewritten according to that perception of the environment. So our belief systems, how the things that we believe, actually cause physiological effects on us. So that just backs up everything I said earlier about how we we control how we look, how our bodies react, just by the subconscious programs that define our belief systems. So, as I said earlier, that the way to counteract that is to actually consciously give yourself a different belief system, like the Palm Spring Follies. They changed their belief system from, I'm an old lady to I'm a dancer. And that shift, that conscious shift of belief system, caused the physiological effects that were her body didn't actually age and stayed fit and vital. And thanks, Night Rainbow. I think that's I think you posted in the Bruce Lipton talk there. So yeah, if you haven't seen Bruce Lipton, please, take the time to check it out, because if you it will change the way you think about life and think about who you are. And this is the important thing. You've got to think about who you are and who you want to be, and you've got to use that shape-shifting ability that we have, because we do have this shape-shifting ability, and as I said, it's being channeled into making us old and infirm. We have to learn to use how to shapeshift, use this ability, and take back this power. And how you do it is quite straightforward. It's probably too easy for most of us to grasp. Essentially, you decide how you want to live your life, how you want that life to be, and you work out how you need, what you need to achieve it. In the case of the Palm Springs Follies, they decided they were dancers, and they would need, and this is, I guess, it came along unconsciously with the conscious idea that I'm a dancer. Is if I'm a dancer, I need to be fit. I need to still be attractive. I need to be so on and so on and so on. So you work out what you need to achieve it, and you visualize it in minute detail. You see every aspect of what it is you want to be and how you want to live your life. And then you be it. You be whatever it is. You don't just think about it. You have to remember that there is only now, and you actually just say, I am a dancer. If that's what you want to be, then you get the dance instructions, and you go and you do it. You be that, and your body will follow accordingly. There are people who wanted to be muscle men, the Mr. Universe types. They decided how they wanted to look, and they did what they needed to do to become that, and their body shaped itself accordingly. That body is no good for somebody who wanted to be a swimmer or a boxer even. The muscles are wrong. Somebody who wanted to be a swimmer would visualize themselves differently, and their body will follow that pattern. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that we are not fixed. What and who you are depends on what you decide you want to be. So decide consciously. There are obviously things you can do to lengthen your life. I've been through it. There's things you can decide to change. What you look like, but you have to act consciously, and that's about all I've got to say. Again, I'm sorry to jump around a bit with that one, but There were so many ideas, and I've only gone a little way into the book. And I'm sure once I've gone a little further, I'll probably be back to you with lots more revelations that I've come across. There will be a change to this show, since we're down to a core number of hosts here, where I'm going to change, I believe, to change my slot to Friday. I think it's already there's a Friday already on the schedule now. So it's Friday at 9. I'll hopefully, if I'm in a position to broadcast, I shall resume broadcasting on Fridays. So till next time, that'll be next Friday. That's it from me. Thanks for listening.
This has been Allegedly Dave. You are the resistance. Stay strong.